Hello, everyone. I'm going to attempt to do a side-by-side comparison of the current advisory committees or organization structures that BCSARA has and the EMCR has, and then a brief discussion of what's proposed. Some questions you might want to consider as you're going through this is how does EMCR's advisory committee stack up against BCSARA's, and which would be in the best interest of BCSARA's members? So to start, I'm doing a side-by-side comparison. Got the terms of reference. The terms of reference for the EMCR Advisory Committee was drafted by EMCR. BCSARA board was not asked for input. The Advisory Council, BCSARA drafted them, and everyone involved was asked for input into those terms of reference. Potential questions for you to ask, and at the end of every one of these, I will have some questions you might want to consider, is you should ask for a copy of both so that you can do a side-by-side comparison and understand the structure of both. And that is true of the new structure as well. And membership. The requesting agencies were asked to send representatives. BCSAR was told who the representative would be, which is the president. And they're talking about adding 6 new GSAR members. The Advisory Council included 12 regional directors who are from the BCSARA board. They're your representative, which you elected. And there's representatives from the requesting agencies. They chose their own representatives, and EMCR declined. There is a standing invitation for them to join. So the question you might want to ask is, why wasn't BCSARA given an opportunity to decide who the representative was, and who decides who the 6 new BCSARA members will be? Representation from the requesting agencies and other parties. The EMCR Advisory Committee apparently includes all possible requesting agencies, which is great. BCSAR's Advisory Council currently includes the RCMP, Municipal Police, BCAHS, Fire Chiefs, and can easily add others as required. The last meeting they held, they invited PEPR and RCMSAR. So a question you might want to ask yourself is, do all requesting agencies need to be there when police, BCHS, and fire cover approximately 95% of all the calls? Easy to invite parks and others, coroner, when the topic is related to them. First Nations. Under EDMA, First Nations is a requesting agency. So not sure how EMCR is going to handle that, and I'm not sure how the Advisory Council is going to handle that from BCSARA, but I suspect they would hopefully approach something like the Union of BC Indian Chiefs and ask them who they would like as a representative. So the question to ask, though, of both is, how will First Nations requesting agencies be included? The agenda. How's the agenda set? For EMCR, it's believed EMCR sets this. When they created this organization, they told BCSARA that they had their own priorities. The BCSARA Advisory Council is members. Any member can ask for agenda to be added. So a potential question to clarify is, who sets the agenda for the EMCR Advisory Committee, and how can a topic be added from the GSAR community? I know that the Advisory Council, they have a decision sheet that is asked to be filled out so that it's given to the membership before the meeting so that they can clearly understand what's being asked of them and be prepared for the meeting. Decision making. The EMCR's Advisory Committee was silent on how decision making was made. I questioned that when it was first put out, no response. The BCSAR Advisory Council is by consensus. So you have to work together and come to a consensus on an issue. So potential questions: clarify how decisions are made by EMCR's Advisory Committee. Working groups. EMCR can create working groups. The Advisory Council, they can create subcommittees. Potential question is, who creates the working group with the EMCR Advisory Committee? Is it EMCR or is it the committee that directs this to happen? With the BCSAR Advisory Council, it's the committee that decides to create a subcommittee, and they go ahead and create it. The terms of reference for those working groups. Under EMCR, I'm not sure who creates that. Under the Advisory Council, it would be the council as a whole that creates the terms of reference for any new subcommittees. So a question to ask is clarify who creates the working group's terms of reference for EMCR. Is it EMCR or is it the committee? Membership of those working groups. I'm not sure who selects the membership for EMCR, but for BCSARA Advisory Council, each member would appoint their own members to the subcommittees. So requesting agencies would appoint someone. BCSARA would find subject matter experts and appoint them. Potential question is, clarify who selects the members of the working groups for EMCR. Is it EMCR or is it the committee members? It's important to find out. Ownership. The advisory committee is owned by EMCR. The BCSAR Advisory Committee is owned by BCSARA. However, this committee could be co-chaired with EMCR with a simple terms of reference edit, and I'm sure BCSARA board would be open to that. Some potential questions to ask is clarify if the members of EMCR committee are equal partners at the table or what that even means to EMCR. Achievements to date for EMCR's advisory committee. I honestly don't know what they've done to date. I do know that they've created a working group for aviation. They didn't ask BCSARA who would be members. They appointed their own members. I don't know what the terms of reference are. They were supposed to be talking about an audit they did, but that has since been dropped. So it appears that EMCR controls everything with the working groups, and not a lot has come out. On the BCSARA Advisory Council, they've met, I believe, about 4 times. They had 3 unanimous recommendations, and they also those recommendations could be implemented today and save lives today. There's a workaround in place, and those have actually been used in operational searches and rescues already. It's only EMCR who doesn't recognize those, so they've been actually very productive. So the question is, why hasn't EMCR acted upon the recommendations from the Advisory Council of BCSARs if everyone supports them? It appears EMCR is the only one dragging their feet. A side-by-side comparison on topics. It's unsure how topics are included on the EMCR side. For BCSARA Advisory Council, it's focused on GSAR related topics that impact operational issues. And that can be edited, but it's really a focus on operational side of things. But a question to ask yourself is, if the topic is related to POGs and policies, is the EMCR Advisory Committee the right place for BCSARA to discuss those? Or would it be better to have a completely separate group from EMCR representing BCSARA's members' best interests, where those discussions would happen and then feedback given to EMCR? Where should those discussions happen and how? That's important to understand. So this is apparently the proposed structure, and you'll see BCSARA off onto the right. It's a little confusing exactly how this will all work, but I understand there will be a reduction in the size of the board for BCSARA down to 6. They will pretty much be program and funding driven. You can see there is no line connecting the GSAR advisory to BCSARA at all. So there's 6 new subject matter experts. Who knows how those are selected? Who selects them? Is it handpicked by EMCR? How does that happen? The extremely effective joint health and safety and training committees are gone from BCSARA, completely controlled by EMCR. Same with technical rescue, same with air support. All of those are gone from the BCSAR's influence and completely controlled by EMCR. You ask yourself if that is the best way to get your voice heard. The current advisory structure has the BCSARA members. BCSARA is accountable to the members. They created the advisory council on the left. It has 12 regional directors. It's got the requesting agencies. They can open more requesting agencies if the topic is important to that. So if they have an issue that they should have the coroners there, then they could easily invite the coroners. There's an open invitation to EMCR to join this committee. And then there's subcommittees that can be created quite easily. If there's an air support committee that's required or anything else, it's easy for the council to create that. The council gives those terms of reference, and then each agency appoints members to that, including BCSARA. It's not controlled by any one agency. Unfortunately, with EMCR outside this, the recommendations go to EMCR, but BCSARA has figured out workarounds to make sure that the tools that have come out of the Advisory Council are available to you and have been used operationally in the province. It's only EMCR who is not involved in this in any way, unfortunately. But it could look different. You could have EMCR at the table. It could still be part of EMC at BCSARA. Keep in mind, for the last 30 or 40 decades, or 30 or 40 years, 3 or 4 decades, the advisory organization, the committee, has been chaired by a volunteer. It's worked extremely well. It resulted in the structure you currently work under. There's been no issues raised about that at all, except the last year for some reason. It could be co-chaired. It is a strong possibility. And it is in the mandate of BCSARA to take on all aspects of the old PEP advisory. And so the GSAR Advisory Council is that PEP advisory in its entirety. And it is a mandate of BCSARA, and therefore that's why it was set up. There are other options, and so some questions you might want to ask yourself is, why weren't these considered? There's obviously the EMCR-driven option. There is the BCSARA-driven option currently in place right now. They're working side by side, mostly because EMCR decided to create their own when they heard BCSARA was creating one. It could be a co-chaired option. Has BCSARA explored that with EMCR? There's also the New Zealand option, and we heard that loud and clear in the webinar last November. Is New Zealand, as the government agency, provides the funding, but it's the SAR community, the subject matter experts, that set the standards and control the standards. They, as you heard from the New Zealand Secretariat, he wouldn't even begin to tell the members what those standards are. He leaves that to the subject matter experts, the SAR members. Are there others that should be explored? So thank you very much. I'm going to leave some options here on what you can do. You should demand that BCSARA take time to review this. There is no reason for a rush. You should demand that BCSARA develop an options paper, spells out what are the issues they're trying to deal with, where do the issues lie? What are all the options and the pros and cons for each of those options? Demand that BCSARA do a proper consultation process. Having less than 50 members attend 3 workshops, which is less than 1.5%, is not consultation. Demand BCSARA listen to members, and if changes to the consultation or board structure are required, that does require the support of the members in a general meeting. Thank you very much, and I hope you found this useful.